Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be doing my final chapter takeaway on the human communications class. In this final takeaway, I'm going to be talking about the three main things that I have learned through this class. The first one being the importance of self-disclosure, the second one being understanding and using nonverbal communication, and the last one being active listening skills. Before taking human communication, I honestly thought communication was just about speaking clearly and that the rest came naturally. The class really showed me that it is a complex process and it helps shape all conflicts, relationships, and interactions in my life. A second large takeaway that I took from the loose leaf version of communication was about the idea of disclosure. Disclosure in the textbook is defined as revealing personal information about yourself to someone else. So whether that be a first impression or just in a basic conversation, it helps build our trust, helps make a sense of emotional closeness, and also helps in healthier relationships as we're being open and honest about what we're feeling, how we're feeling, and what we want to do about it. I learned this from the chapter on interpersonal relationships. Interpersonal relationships and self-disclosure really helped me understand the foundation I used to build on friendships. Helped me kind of be able to understand how I could have been a burden to people, as I am consistently just relaying information on them and they're already having to take into account what's going on in their life. So it's taking away from the aspect of their own personal burden. An example of this would be this year when I was thinking about dropping a class, and my roommate was also thinking about dropping a class, and how he simply was trying to resolve his problem, and in a way I was a little upset that he was resolving his problem without taking into account of mine. And so I think that also comes with accountability and how you actually handle the situation. So I think in that case, I could have kept it to myself for a little bit and let him figure out his problem before relaying that message on him. And then lastly, that concept really helped me understand how some of my old relationships were shallow and just never meet the requirements they needed to meet to be a good, respectful, healthy relationship. And so I think just having the self-disclosure and using it appropriately would help me in this situation. In the aspect of nonverbal communication, the textbook defines nonverbal communication as the process of conveying meaning without using words. So that can be using simple facial expressions like a smile, maybe even a smirk, or maybe even a laugh. It could also just be gestures with your hands, like moving your hands to kind of helps make a sense of imagery of what you're talking about to the audience. It can be the tone of your voice, so you can assert with a loud, kind of stern tone, or you can also have a more understanding and moderate tone and calm tone. It can also be about your posture, so making sure that you are standing straight up, you're not fidgeting or doing any distractive actions that will hurt the delivery of your speech. So this came from the chapter in the book about nonverbal communication, and also analyzing just how body language has changed my speeches in this class. One of them, I had poor body language as I was tapping the note card, and then I fixed that, I believe, in my other speeches, and that really helped to make my grade higher. The concept is one that can kind of steer the vibe of your audience, so I guess how they feel about you, if you're actually confident up there, if you're very nervous. You can establish credibility if your body language is the same as your emotions and also your gestures. And body language can also represent more than just the words you speak. Um, a real world example would be like, I remember one time at work, me and a coworker were upset at each other, and I kind of just avoided that person and had my arms crossed. I didn't really want to make any contact. But I wasn't necessarily upset with the person. I was just exhausted and ready to get on with the day. And then I think after now knowing nonverbal cues, I could have used nonverbal cues, maybe making more like being more aware of how my posture and how I was actually approaching this person like made them feel. And so I believe if I would have established a communication, said, hey, like, I'm tired and it's not you, then the person would have felt more healthy. And my last takeaway from the Human Communication Loose Leaf textbook is about active listening. Active listening is making sure you're actually concentrating, you're fully understanding the information that's being relayed to you, and also just sometimes responding even, not just like waiting to put a hand up, but actually responding to questions and comments that are throughout the speech. This came from the chapter on listening and the in-class activity that we practiced about like certain listening styles and looking into them. It changed how I really handle conflict and how I need to make sure I understand what the other person's saying before I provide a rebuttal or an argument against what they're saying. It also kind of helped me start slowing down my thoughts and making sure that my thoughts are actually emphasized and I'm not just kind of in slang what they would call yapping. And lastly, also just being able to acknowledge the other person's feelings, taking into account how they feel, and making sure that I actually hear them on an emotional level. I think I could have used active listening a little bit better in my life when it came to like getting into an argument with my parents. If they came off very aggressive to me, I often decide to come off aggressive to them. I think if I just listened to what they said and analyzed what they said, that we could have a more mutual understanding of what is being said instead of defining what I want immediately. So I think just with active listening, it'll help better your relationships and better your communication and make it a mutual respect between the two of you as you're both understanding what is being said, actually listening word to word for what is being said, and being able to analyze it to then therefore solve an issue. With the three takeaways, I think a skill that I've now been able to develop is just being more patient and being more open and coming off less defensive and actually informing before fighting against the argument of the person I'm speaking with. I think self-disclosure helped me with this, active listening, and I think it'll also help me in relationships. I think a big weakness is in communication is just how to handle conflict and how to actually handle when your two points don't like correspond. Sometimes, often, even in my own communication, I think sometimes I just shut down or avoid the difficult conversations because I don't want to escalate what is being said. So I propose a 3-step action plan instead. With the first being pause before responding. So let the person talk, understand and analyze what they said, so I'm not able to react emotionally and irrationally. Second would be using active listening, maybe paraphrasing or breaking down what the person said before actually giving my rebuttal and my point of view on the argument. And then a third would be just using small, appropriate self-disclosure and expressing my feelings, not in a way that creates a burden, but in a way that's just there to inform the other person. I think this plan will just help me approach conflict and with confidence and with more emotional control and overall more control of what I'm saying, and help people actually want to communicate with me because I'm understanding and I understand what is being said. very large takeaway from the book, I would say, and probably my biggest takeaway is that communication isn't automatic. It's a skill that you have to learn, and you also have to practice, just like any other skill for like a sport or something that you're trying to do. Three main like things I would say to help me with my communication would be using self-disclosure in my relationships to build stronger relationships, allowing that person to talk with also allowing myself to talk, paying attention to nonverbal communication, whether that be in a work setting when I see a worker down, maybe try to talk to them, see what's going on, if they're using trying to get them to self-disclose what is going on. Last one would be practicing active listening to make sure that conflicts are managed correctly and also help improve the understanding of myself or just whoever is getting the message relayed to them. So in the human communication class, I feel like I learned to be more intentional with my words. I learned more self-awareness when it comes to my speaking, and I believe I've grown more confident as a communicator. These lessons I don't think will just help me in the classroom, but they will help me on maybe an international stage one day, or even just in a court case in the courtroom. And they'll also help me in my own relationships in the near future. I think with that being said, human communication opened up the world of speaking for me, helped me understand what goes into building a great speech, the different types of speeches, the different components that come with the speeches, and overall how communication is on a daily basis, and you need to make sure to practice it in order to relay your messages correctly. Thank you.